There comes a moment in life when you begin to sense something beneath the surface. Something subtle but undeniable, as if the ground beneath your familiar rhythm is shifting. It isn't chaos, but it isn't peace either. It's more like a quiet hum, a space between breaths, where the old no longer feels alive, yet the new hasn't fully arrived. This sensation, unsettling as it may be, is not a mistake. It is the signal that you are standing on the threshold of a profound transformation. Think of it this way. In every great story, there is a pause before the breakthrough, a hush before the symphony begins, a dimming of the lights before the curtains rise, a moment of stillness before the arrow is released. That stillness is not emptiness. It is recalibration. Just as in physics, where a particle lingers in superposition, holding infinite potentials before collapsing into a single reality, you too are now holding multiple versions of yourself. The mind may resist this, craving proof, steps, and evidence, but the soul already knows. It is preparing you for the leap. In that preparation, everything you once clung to may begin to feel strangely irrelevant. Routines, ambitions, even conversations that once mattered. You may wonder if you're losing your way, but in truth, you are being freed from the weight of an outdated frequency. What feels like uncertainty is actually the most dynamic state you could be in. It is the doorway, the liminal passage where the version of you that was is dissolving so the version of you that is meant to be can finally take form. And if you're here with me now, reading or listening to these words, it's no accident. Something in you already remembers this frequency. It has been calling you back, quietly, patiently, waiting for you to recognize the signs. This isn't about forcing, proving, or striving. It's about surrendering to the deeper current that is already carrying you forward. If these words resonate with you, if you can feel the truth vibrating through them, I invite you to pause for a moment and honor this crossing. And before we step deeper into the journey, let me ask you to do something simple. Support this space by liking this video and subscribing to the channel. That small gesture tells the algorithm and the universe alike that you are ready to walk further on this path with me. Right before a quantum leap, life often feels strangely muted. The colors seem less vivid, the ambitions that once drove you lose their urgency, and the daily routines you used to rely on suddenly feel out of step with who you are becoming. At first, this shift can be disorienting because we are taught that progress is always noisy, measured in activity, accomplishments, and endless motion. But the truth is that transformation rarely begins with fireworks. It begins with silence. It begins with a recalibration so deep that your old identity can no longer hold its shape. Imagine waking up on a Monday morning and realizing that the goals you once chased no longer excite you. You sit at your desk, looking at a list of tasks, and instead of feeling motivated, you feel hollow. That emptiness isn't laziness, it's not failure. It's your system quietly rewiring itself for something larger. Neuroplasticity research shows us that the brain needs downtime to break old circuits and build new ones. Just as muscles grow not during exertion but during rest, your nervous system recalibrates in stillness. What feels like nothing happening is in fact the most important work of all. This is where so many people misunderstand their path. They interpret the quiet as stagnation and rush to fill the space with old distractions. But recalibration requires trust. It asks you to sit in the strange in-between, to resist the urge to fix or force, and to allow your body, mind, and spirit to synchronize with a new frequency. If you fight this stillness, you prolong the discomfort. If you breathe into it, you accelerate the shift. Spiritually, mystics across traditions describe this as the fertile darkness. It is the seed lying beneath the soil, invisible to the eye but swelling with life. It is the cocoon before the butterfly emerges. It is the sacred pause between the inhale and the exhale, where creation is conceived. To the linear mind, this silence feels threatening, but to the soul it is the surest sign that new life is on its way. So if you find yourself in this state, where conversations feel shallow, where the old ambitions have lost their spark, where your drive has gone quiet, take heart. You are not broken. You are in recalibration. You are standing in the stillness that always comes before the leap. And as we move forward together, you'll see why this silence is not absence, but presence. Presence so profound it is preparing to launch you into a reality you may have once thought impossible. Every transformation has a moment when the old self dissolves before the new one takes form. Mystics have always called this place the void. At first, the void feels uncomfortable, like stepping into a darkened room where your eyes cannot yet adjust. You reach for the tools you once used to navigate life, your old strategies, your old patterns, your old sense of identity, and none of them seem to work here. That is because they no longer belong to you. They were crafted for the version of yourself that is fading, not for the one being born. The void is not empty. It is overflowing. It is the womb of creation, the fertile darkness where every possibility waits to be chosen. In physics, when a system destabilizes, the particles do not disappear. They reorganize into new forms. In the same way, when your life feels stripped bare, what is actually happening is that the building blocks of your reality are reordering themselves to match the vibration you have already signaled to the field. This is why spiritual teachers across cultures speak of entering the desert, the dark night of the soul, or the fertile void. They are describing the same stage of recalibration. To the rational mind, it seems like nothing is happening. But beneath the surface, everything is happening. The silence is not absence. It is full of quantum information, rewriting the patterns of your destiny in a language you cannot yet read but are already living. If you can allow yourself to breathe into this silence, something shifts. Instead of treating the stillness as a problem, you begin to recognize it as a sanctuary. Instead of grasping for distractions, you begin to notice the subtler movements. The way a new insight drops into your awareness, the way an old fear loses its grip, the way your body feels lighter even in moments of uncertainty. These are not accidents. They are the first signals of reorganization. Think of it like the night sky. In the daylight, the stars are hidden by the brightness of activity. But when the sun sets and the darkness deepens, the constellations appear. The void is the cosmic night of your soul, where the lights of new timelines finally reveal themselves. Your task here is not to demand clarity before it's ready. Your task is to sit long enough in the darkness that your vision adjusts, and in that adjustment to realize you were never abandoned. You are being rewritten. This is why surrender is the only way through the void. Not surrender as defeat, but surrender as trust. When you stop panicking at the silence and lean into its richness, you discover the very power that will carry you to your new reality. Because in truth, the void is not the end of your story. It is the fertile field where your next chapter is already germinating, waiting for the right moment to bloom. When physicists describe the strange behavior of particles, they often use the word superposition. It means that for a brief moment, the particle exists in multiple possible states at once, until observation collapses it into one. While this is a technical concept in quantum mechanics, I share it here not as a strict scientific lesson, but as a metaphor for what happens to you in moments of deep transition. You too can exist in superposition, standing with one foot in the old life and one foot in the new, both timelines hovering around you, waiting for your choice of alignment. This liminal space can feel dizzying. Some days you may wake up and feel already free, already alive in your new reality. On other days, the echoes of your old patterns pull you back into doubt or fear, convincing you that nothing has really changed. But instead of seeing this oscillation as failure, recognize it for what it is. proof that multiple realities are alive in your field at the same time. Each thought, each breath, each act of presence is nudging the wave toward collapse, toward the moment when one version of you becomes the only version you live. Think of it like walking through a corridor lined with doors. Every door leads to a different timeline, and for now, all of them remain slightly open. You can feel their energy, you can sense their pull, but you have not yet placed your hand on the handle. The choice is not made with frantic effort, it is made by resonance. The door you touch is the one that vibrates in harmony with who you are becoming. And when that resonance is clear, the rest of the doors close gently on their own. This is why clarity of intention matters so deeply. Not the kind of intention that comes from forcing or bargaining, but the kind that arises from coherence, when your heart, your mind, and your nervous system are all broadcasting the same signal. In those moments, the field doesn't need to be convinced. It simply mirrors you. And when you align like this, the superposition collapses with effortless precision, as if reality itself had been waiting for you to decide. To live inside this metaphor is to understand that uncertainty is not your enemy. It is your invitation. Every flicker of doubt, every flash of hope, every strange calm you feel is evidence that you are standing inside the doorway of infinite possibilities. The version of you that is already whole, already aligned, already living the life you've been calling in, exists here and now. The question is not whether it exists, but whether you will step fully into it. There comes a moment in this process when the gap between who you are becoming and the life you have been living grows so wide that you cannot ignore it anymore. It doesn't always look like chaos. It often feels like subtle dissonance, like wearing clothes that no longer fit or trying to replay a song you've outgrown. Relationships that once felt nourishing now seem constrictive. Work that used to give you purpose feels strangely hollow. Even the voice inside your head, the one that once sounded like you, begins to feel foreign, as if it belongs to an identity you've already begun to leave behind. In the language of physics, this stage resembles decoherence. When two systems can no longer maintain resonance, they fall out of harmony, and the old synchronization collapses. As a metaphor, decoherence describes this exact moment in your evolution. Your inner world vibrating at a higher frequency while your outer circumstances still echo the patterns of the past. The tension is not punishment, it is a signal. It is life telling you that the blueprint holding your current reality can no longer sustain the version of you that is emerging. You may notice it in small ways first. Perhaps you sit in a meeting at work, surrounded by familiar faces, and instead of feeling engaged, you feel like a ghost watching someone else's life. Or you spend time with friends you used to feel close to, and their conversations seem to circle the same loops, while you can feel your soul straining to expand beyond them. In those moments, it's tempting to blame yourself, to ask what went wrong. But the truth is, nothing went wrong. You simply no longer vibrate at the same resonance you once did. The discomfort you feel here is actually a form of relief in disguise. It is your system whispering, "This does not match who you are anymore." It's like trying to run brand new software on outdated hardware. It will glitch, lag, and eventually break down. Not because the software is flawed, but because an upgrade is required. That upgrade is your quantum jump. This mismatch can feel like being stretched in two directions. Part of you still wants to cling to the familiar even if it no longer nourishes you. Another part of you longs for the freedom of alignment. And just like standing with one foot on each of two boats drifting apart, eventually you must choose. You cannot stabilize yourself in both. Relief will always come when you step fully into the frequency that is calling you, even if it means leaving behind the safety of what you once knew. The danger here lies in misinterpretation. The mind, afraid of uncertainty, will try to fix what is breaking or restore what is fading. But to restore the old is to step backward. What looks like breakdown is really breakthrough. What feels like loss is space clearing for the life that can finally sustain your higher vibration. If you can resist patching together what is already dissolving, you accelerate your leap. If you keep clinging to what no longer resonates, you delay it. The moment you allow yourself to release, whether that means letting go of an outdated relationship, an ambition that no longer feels alive, or an identity that has outlived its purpose, you create the energetic clearance that makes room for your new timeline. Decoherence, then, is not the end of harmony. It is the bridge to a new kind of harmony. It is the music changing keys so the next movement of your symphony can begin. Every leap requires energy. In physics, when an electron jumps to a higher orbital, it does so only after absorbing a precise amount of energy. Not too little, not too much. The instant that threshold is reached, the electron doesn't struggle. It doesn't climb in increments. It simply disappears from one state and appears in the next. There is no hesitation, no middle ground. One moment here, the next moment there. That is the essence of a quantum jump. As human beings, we mirror this process. Your transformation happens the moment your frequency fully matches the reality you are stepping into. It doesn't arrive because you forced it or because you pushed yourself harder than ever before. It arrives when you allow the old frequency to dissolve so completely that the new one has no resistance left to push against. In that instant, the shift becomes inevitable. This is why so much doing at this stage can actually slow you down. The frantic need to fix, prove, or control is not a sign of progress. It's evidence that part of you is still clinging to the old blueprint, trying to carry the past into the future. But effort cannot bridge two incompatible realities. Alignment can. A single moment of pure resonance, when your thoughts, emotions, and body are unified, does more to accelerate your leap than weeks of scattered action. Allowing is not the same as passivity. It's an active surrender, a choice to trust the process enough to release control. Imagine a bow being drawn back before an arrow flies. The tension in that draw is not wasted. It is the very force that will propel the arrow forward. Right now, the universe is drawing you back, not to hold you down, but to launch you higher than effort alone could take you. Think of how the seasons work. A tree doesn't panic in winter when its branches are bare. It doesn't scramble to glue its fallen leaves back on. It allows the cycle. It trusts the dormancy because it knows the surge of spring is already encoded in its nature. Your leap works the same way. The stillness and tension you feel are not delays. They are the very energies storing up the force that will carry you into your new state. So instead of asking, how do I make this happen faster? Ask, what do I need to let go of so this can unfold? That simple shift in perspective moves you from resistance into receptivity, from static into signal. And once you are receptive, the field doesn't hesitate. It rearranges itself around your coherence, aligning the conditions of your life with the vibration you have already chosen. If right now it feels as if certain things are slipping away, relationships, opportunities, even aspects of your personality, remember this. Space is being made. The question is not, how do I get them back? The question is, what is this creating space for? That is the mindset of allowing, and in that space, acceleration begins. Right before the leap, your inner world can feel like a storm. One moment you are alive with certainty, convinced that something extraordinary is about to happen. The next, doubt seeps in like a cold wind, whispering that perhaps you imagined it all. These fluctuations can feel overwhelming, but they are not signs of weakness or failure. They are the signature of transition itself. Neuroscience offers us a glimpse into why this happens. The brain operates through predictive coding. It constantly runs simulations of what it expects based on the past. Even as your higher self is drawing you toward a new reality, your subconscious mind clings to the familiar blueprint, trying to keep you safe by replaying old patterns. So you find yourself oscillating between two signals, the pull of the new and the inertia of the old. It is a kind of superposition where both realities are alive in your field, and your emotions flicker between them like a candle flame in the wind. This flicker is not a setback. It is evidence that you are standing at the threshold. Each surge of hope followed by a wave of fear is the energetic oscillation of a system seeking coherence. The stronger the oscillation, the closer you are to collapse, the moment when the wave settles into one state, the state you have been aligning with all along. Just as turbulence doesn't mean a plane isn't flying, emotional turbulence doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're moving through new layers of atmosphere and your system is adjusting to a higher altitude. Think of a time in your life when you stood on the edge of a major decision, leaving a job, starting a relationship, moving to a new place. Your body hummed with excitement and fear all at once. That was not confusion. It was recalibration. The old self and the new self were both active in your field, and your emotions were the currents pulling you between them. What decided the outcome wasn't the turbulence itself, but your ability to steady your course through it. This is why emotional intensity often peaks just before a shift. Your consciousness is scanning every memory, every belief, every attachment, asking, does this belong in the new reality, or is this an artifact of the old? That process feels emotional because emotions are the body's chemical signals of change. They are the proof that your system is being rewritten in real time. The mistake most people make here is to interpret the doubt as evidence they're moving backward. But doubt is not regression, it's turbulence, and turbulence always means motion. When you can ride the currents without panicking, when you can breathe into the oscillation instead of gripping the seat in fear, you stabilize more quickly. You discover that the oscillation itself is what prepares you to hold the frequency of your new life. So if your feelings are all over the place right now, don't rush to judge yourself. You are not unstable. You are in motion. The field is adjusting to hold you steady at a frequency you have never lived at before. And the more gracefully you navigate these waves, the faster they resolve into a single solid reality. Soon the flicker will end, and you will no longer be moving between worlds. You will have landed fully in the one you've been calling in. When the winds of change rise, most people either cling to the highs or collapse under the lows. They chase the moments of excitement as if those are the only proof they're on track, and they dread the moments of fear as if those mean they've failed. But what accelerates the leap isn't clinging to one or resisting the other. It's the ability to hold yourself steady in the middle of both. This is conscious neutrality. Neutrality doesn't mean indifference. It doesn't mean becoming numb or detached. It means becoming the eye of the storm, the still center from which the chaos can swirl without pulling you away. When joy comes, you receive it, but you don't demand that it stay forever. When doubt arises, you observe it, but you don't let it dictate your next move. Both are temporary fluctuations, neither defines who you are. Picture yourself sitting by a river watching the current rush by. One moment the water sparkles in the sun. The next it grows murky with stirred-up silt. If you jump into the river every time the water changes, you'll exhaust yourself. But if you stay on the bank, breathing, simply observing, you notice that the river always finds its balance again. Neutrality is choosing the bank. It is remembering that you are not the current, you are the witness. Even your body responds to this shift. When you resist your emotions, your nervous system spikes into fight or flight. But when you breathe and allow both excitement and doubt to pass through you, your physiology settles. Heart rate slows, breath deepens, and the body learns safety in uncertainty. This is not passive, it's training. It is teaching your system to hold coherence even when the winds shift. And the more you practice, the more resilient your signal becomes. From a spiritual lens, neutrality is the universe's ultimate question. Can you remain coherent when the external world has not yet caught up to your inner choice? Can you hold the vibration of the life you've chosen even when appearances seem to contradict it? Those who can are the ones who collapse timelines the fastest. Because the field doesn't respond to frantic grasping. It responds to steadiness. It mirrors coherence. So when the storm swirls around you, when one day feels like triumph and the next feels like collapse, try stepping into the eye. Close your eyes. Place your hand on your chest. Feel your breath enter and leave. Say quietly to yourself, "This is a wave, and I am the ocean." That simple shift anchors you back into the still center where transformation ripens. And from there, your leap is no longer delayed by turbulence. It is fueled by it. Just when you think you've moved beyond the old version of yourself, life has a way of bringing it back to your doorstep. Not to punish you, not to drag you backwards, but to give you the chance to prove to yourself that you are no longer who you once were. This is the final diagnostic, the ritual at the threshold of transformation. It often comes disguised as repetition, a conversation that pushes your buttons in the exact same way an old relationship did, a money situation that triggers the familiar panic of scarcity, a wave of self-doubt that sounds almost identical to the inner critic you thought you had silenced. These echoes are not regressions. They are tests, not in the sense of judgment from the universe, but as opportunities for you to consciously choose alignment in real time. Neuroscience explains why this happens. Your brain loves efficiency. It always reaches for the most well-worn neural pathways first. If you've rehearsed fear, doubt, or anger for years, those circuits fire almost automatically. When you're on the brink of a leap, those old pathways don't vanish instantly. They fire one last time, hoping for reinforcement. If you respond the way you always have, you strengthen them. But if you respond from your chosen frequency, you collapse them and the new circuitry begins to dominate. Spiritually, this stage feels like standing at the doorway of a new life, holding the key in your hand. The door isn't locked. It's waiting for you to turn the handle. And the only requirement is that you respond as the version of yourself who already lives beyond that threshold. Meet scarcity with gratitude. Meet anger with compassion. Meet doubt with presence. Every time you do, you are not merely imagining your new identity. You are living it. You are broadcasting it into the field, and the field has no choice but to mirror it back. Think of a pilot training in a simulator. They practice turbulence, emergencies, and setbacks not to prove their worth, but to build muscle memory. That way, when the real flight comes, their response is automatic, steady, and aligned. These threshold moments are your simulator. They exist so that when you step fully into your new timeline, you already know how to fly it. The danger is misinterpretation. Too many people see these resurfacing challenges as proof they're failing, thinking, if I were truly changing, I wouldn't still be facing this. But the very appearance of these patterns means you've shifted enough for them to be flushed out of your field. You can only release what you've already outgrown. The fact that you're even aware of these triggers now is the clearest sign that you are almost there. So when the old shows up at your door, don't panic. Smile at it. Recognize it as the final diagnostic. Respond from your upgraded self and the door swings open. Because in that choice, subtle though it may seem, you collapse the probability wave of your old life and step fully into the one you've been aligning with all along. When the leap finally comes, it doesn't always announce itself with thunder. More often, it slips in quietly, like dawn entering a dark room. You wake up one morning and realize that the fear that used to clutch your chest is gone. The problem that once consumed your thoughts feels strangely irrelevant. A conversation that would have triggered you last month now leaves you calm, untouched. The shift doesn't shout, it simply settles into your bones. In physics, an electron's jump to a higher orbital happens instantaneously. There's no halfway point, no visible climb. One moment it is here, the next it is there. Integration feels the same. Your mind expects drama, fireworks, a grand before and after. But when the new reality locks in, it feels natural. So natural that your mind almost downplays it. You might even catch yourself wondering, was that it? Did anything really change? But that quiet is not anticlimax, it is confirmation. Neurologically, this is the stage when old circuits stop firing and the new ones stabilize. You no longer have to try to think differently. It happens by default. Your brain has rewired. Your body has accepted the new baseline. The identity you worked so hard to embody is no longer something you practice. It is who you are. Spiritually, this is arrival, though it rarely feels dramatic. It feels like peace. And peace, after all the turbulence, is the clearest sign that you have landed. Ironically, it is often in this quiet stage that the mind grows restless. Accustomed to struggle, it wonders if transformation can really be this gentle. It pokes at the field, tests the reality, seeks more proof. But drama belongs to the old timeline. The new one is about flow. Just because your leap didn't come with noise doesn't mean it wasn't real. In fact, the quieter the shift, the deeper it tends to be, because it happened at the level of identity, not just circumstance. This is the stage to lean into embodiment. Stop asking, did it work? Instead ask, how do I live fully as this version of me? Every choice now becomes an act of reinforcement. Each small decision, how you speak, how you walk, how you respond, is an anchor, rooting you deeper into the timeline you've chosen. With each repetition, the coherence of your new state grows stronger, until it becomes the only reality you recognize. The quiet arrival is not the end of your journey. It is the beginning of life lived at a higher frequency. And if you can trust the simplicity of it, if you can embrace the peace without demanding drama, you will find that what once felt impossible has become your new normal. Arrival is not the end of the story. It is the invitation to live differently. Once the leap settles, the question is no longer, did I make it? But how do I embody this new state every day? Because the quantum field doesn't respond to flashes of inspiration or brief moments of clarity. It responds to the ongoing signal of who you are being. Embodiment is that ongoing signal. To embody is to let the new frequency become your home. It means waking each morning and remembering that you are no longer rehearsing the future. You are inhabiting it. When you drink your coffee, walk through your neighborhood, answer emails, or sit across from a loved one, the smallest gestures become expressions of alignment. You no longer chase evidence. You live as if it is already true, and in that living, reality bends to match you. Picture a week in this integrated state. On Monday, you enter a work conversation that once would have drained you. Instead of shrinking or forcing, you listen calmly, your presence reorganizing the energy in the room without effort. On Wednesday, you pass by an old trigger, a memory, a place, a voice, and instead of tightening, you feel space in your chest, as if your body no longer recognizes the weight it once carried. On Friday, you make a choice about money, health, or love, and for the first time, you choose without fear. Each moment is small, but together they weave the fabric of a new life. This is why embodiment is not about dramatic gestures, it's about constancy. It's about voting for the new reality with your posture, your words, your breath. It's about letting coherence guide you in ordinary circumstances until the extraordinary becomes ordinary. Neville Goddard often said that imagination is not daydreaming, but living from the end. Embodiment is that principle in action, acting not as if you hope, but as if you already are. The beauty of embodiment is that it doesn't require perfection. It requires repetition. Each time you catch yourself slipping into the old identity and gently return to the new, you strengthen the neural pathways and the energetic imprint. Over time, the return becomes easier, faster, and more natural until you no longer feel like you are practicing. You are simply living. So ask yourself now, how would I speak if I were already free? How would I move if I already belonged to the timeline I've chosen? How would I breathe if I knew the leap was complete? Every answer is an instruction from your future self guiding you into coherence. And the more you embody these answers, the more unshakable your new reality becomes. If you've stayed with me through this journey, recognize this truth. It's not coincidence that you are here. You found these words because you were already aligned with the signal of your higher self. The stillness you felt, the mismatch, the turbulence, even the final tests, none of them were detours. They were the exact signs that your leap was already underway. A quantum jump does not wait for the right calendar date. It waits for the right you. And the moment you stop clinging to what is dissolving and start embodying what has already arrived, reality rearranges itself with a precision that feels effortless. Suddenly you realize you were never chasing transformation, it was chasing you. That is why the last step is not force, but declaration. When you say, I am coherent with my chosen reality, I am ready. I am living as the version of myself I have always known was possible. Those words are not performance, they are resonance. They lock your frequency into place, and the field has no choice but to mirror it back to you. So let this be your threshold. Let this be the moment where you don't just understand the leap, you own it. Every breath, every word, every choice from here is not a rehearsal. It is reality. It is your reality. And the more faithfully you embody it, the more unshakable it becomes. If this message resonated with you, I ask one simple thing. Show your support. Like this video and subscribe to the channel to help me continue sharing these transmissions. That small act is both a signal to the algorithm and a declaration to yourself. You're ready to live fully in the timeline you've chosen.